The vehicle sped forward. After driving for over an hour from the airport, they finally arrived at the origin point of the plague, Yanglu Village. Yanglu Village was located on the outskirts of Puqing, bordering Wugang City, and housed about 200 to 300 residents. Now, the entire village had been sealed off. All villagers were ordered to remain indoors and cooperate with the investigation. As for the 23 people who had already shown symptoms, they were isolated and placed under strict military supervision to prevent any accidents. By the time Dustin and Margaret arrived in Yanglu Village, it was already 9:30 p.m. Their vehicle stopped in front of a 2-story building with a small yard. Temporary surveillance cameras had been installed around the house, and a squad of soldiers stood guard, each one wearing a gas mask. Everyone entering or exiting had to undergo disinfection. Precautionary measures were extremely strict. "Boss, wear this." Before they even got out of the car, Sulan handed both Margaret and Dustin a gas mask. "All right." Margaret nodded and took the mask, putting it on naturally. "I don't need it." "Thanks, though." Dustin declined politely. His body was naturally immune to all poisons. Now that he had broken through another level, there was even less need to worry. Let alone a mere plague, even the top 10 deadly toxins in the martial world couldn't harm him. "Mr. Dustin, this plague is extremely aggressive and dangerous. For your safety, it's best if you wear the mask," Sulan reminded him. "Mr. Dustin is a divine physician. If he says it's not necessary, then it's not necessary. Let's go in." Margaret didn't bother explaining further and led the way into the courtyard. Although Sulan was puzzled, she didn't question it. She knew her boss's temperament. What Margaret decided was almost always right. The three entered the house, passed through the living room, and walked into a bedroom, where they quickly saw a man lying on the bed. He appeared to be in his early 30s, his body emaciated and completely restrained to the bed, unable to move. At this moment, his cheeks were flush red and he was gasping heavily, as if running a high fever. His arms, neck, and face were all covered in red rashes, clear signs of the plague. "Dustin, take a look at him and see what we're dealing with," Margaret said, turning to him. Dustin nodded and walked forward to examine the man closely. The man's vital signs were extremely weak, and the symptoms of the plague were fully developed. If things went on like this, he'd be dead in 2 or 3 days. "It's definitely the plague. His consciousness is already fading. He's on the verge of death," Dustin quickly diagnosed. "Can you still save him?" Margaret's face was grave. Judging by Liu Yang's condition, it was obvious he couldn't answer any questions. Saving his life and stabilizing him had to come first. Only then could they question him later. "I can save him, but it'll take some effort." Dustin nodded. "Whatever you need, just say the word. I'll have it arranged immediately," Margaret responded. "This plague is a fiery toxin that scorches both qi and blood, leading to symptoms like high fever, intense thirst, splitting headaches, rashes, and vomiting blood," Dustin explained calmly. "I have a formula here that can clear heat and detoxify, cool the blood, and purge fire. It'll stabilize his symptoms temporarily. Afterward, I'll administer acupuncture, and by morning he should be awake." "Thank you." Margaret sighed in relief. She had been afraid Dustin might say the illness was beyond saving. That would have meant disaster. Plague spread rapidly. Without the right treatment, casualties would pile up fast. Bringing Dustin here had undoubtedly been a wise decision. "Just doing my part," Dustin said simply. He immediately grabbed some paper and wrote out a prescription, handing it to Margaret. "Sulan, have someone get these herbs, fast." Margaret took the prescription and passed it to the woman behind her. "Yes, ma'am," Sulan responded and rushed off. In a crisis like this, every second counted. The sooner they controlled the outbreak, the fewer people would die. Within an hour, all the herbs Dustin needed had been brought over. Next came the decoction process. To make it faster and more potent, Dustin used his refined spiritual energy to intensify the flames, drawing out the full effect of the herbs. A process that usually took 2 hours was done in just 30 minutes under his hand. After feeding Liu Yang the herbal decoction, Dustin immediately began acupuncture. With pinpoint accuracy, he inserted needles into vital acupoints without even touching the patient or the needles, controlling them completely through the air. With a flick of his fingers, the silver needles flew and embedded themselves into the correct spots, spinning rapidly as they drew out the toxic blood bit by bit. Margaret took the scene in stride, as if it were nothing new. But Sulan, standing to the side, was absolutely stunned. She hadn't taken Dustin seriously at first. He was only in his 20s. How could someone so young be called a divine physician? But now, she realized how terribly wrong she had been. Controlling needles through the air, hitting acupoints with surgical precision. What kind of celestial technique was this? She had considered herself well-traveled and familiar with many renowned doctors, but had never seen anyone capable of such a feat. Or rather, this was no longer something a normal human could do. This man was truly beyond mortal.
And just can't accept it. This can't be the end yet. You promised to never leave, and now you're gone. Can't believe I can feel the world slipping away as you slowly fade from my everyday. You promised forever a love without end, but now I'm left broken, struggling to mend. I thought we were so tied, destined for a lifetime, love with no end, love with no end. Staying in my imagination, memorizing the past time, the secrets, the love, the care. Now they're echoes in the air. I still see your face in every place, feel your warmth, your gentle grace. But now there's just an empty space, and I'm lost in this endless chase. Keeping you in my heart, a piece of you I'll never let go. Though distance brings separation, in my heart